today we have the first talk with two international guests finally. So I'm very happy to have these two special people to me here. So both of them are artists that are in the exhibition. So there's one part of the video, well, you can see it afterwards. And then there's this textile piece from Marjan, and the video is from Gabriel. Gabriel came from Chile, so he's a Mexican artist, or Mexican living as an artist and manager. So he has a wonderful art space in Santiago de Chile as well. So he lives in Chile, but he's originally Mexican.
Yeah.
And Marjan, who's originally from Iran, but lives in Germany now. So we have a very international crowd here. And both of them will just have a talk about their works, but also about this common topic, which is the Conference of the Birds. So I'll just give the floor to them, and please, they have prepared something, but at the same time, please feel free to ask questions, to interact. It should really be kind of a conference of the birds as well, so we are the birds. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask and join the conversation.
This is just a fragment of this second part of the video that was another version shown in two exhibitions in Santiago and now in Berlin in another exhibition called Memoria Máquina that I wanted to show because it's different of the version here in hinterland. So it's just to make the context about it. So this is Sura Norte. This is an installation proposed by two audio samples that are composed of mixed sound of hawks. That would be one of the connections, of multiple connections that we made for Festival of the Birds 1. And that's why I thank to Gudrun to this invitation to the gallery. So the sound of the hawks of the bombing of the Palacio de la Moneda in Chile in 1973 connect with the Hawker Hunter, that is the plane that bombed the La Moneda in that year. The audiovisual piece contains a text with geolocalization that we just saw, data of the Palace of La Moneda, that is the house government in Chile, and tinnitus sound that generate the connection from the form of repression used in the population in times of dictatorship, where the flight of planes and helicopters was used at low altitude to generate fear on the population. The title of the sculpture, Sura Norte, alludes to the hawk's journey of the flight of Farid al-Din Attar's of the Conference of the Bird, connecting concepts between politics, art, migration, and journey. The sculpture invites viewers, that I'm going to show the sculpture just when I finish this little text. Reflected role of art raising awareness about social and political issues, as well as the importance of the coming together a community to pursue justice. At the heart of the sculpture of Sura Norte lies a complex interplay of symbols and metaphors that speak of the fundamental philosophical question about oppression, resistance, justice, and freedom. The sculpture Copper Rock represents the destructive power of oppressive regimes, which can inflict profound suffering and under time the fabric of society. The hawk, on the other hand, represents the human spirit of resistance and the pursuit of the justice and freedom. Its powerful legs, which grip the Sura Norte rock, symbolize the strength and the resilience required to resist oppression and fight for the justier and a equitable society. In this way, the sculpture evokes the ancient Greek concept of agon, or a struggle, as a fundamental aspect of human experience, generating antonymous readings between the name of the plane that bombed La Moneda, that is called Hawker Hunter, and the hawks as a figure of freedom based on the imaginary of Farid, Conference of the Birds. Moreover, the sculpture incorporation of the hawk also invites reflection of the relationship between human beings and the natural world. In many indigenous cultures, hawks are seen as messengers between human and the divine, and such as they represent a powerful symbol of interconnection and interdependence. The hawk's roles in the sculpture suggest a need to recognize the respect and intrinsic value of the nature world in its role sustaining human life. From a broader philosophical perspective, then, the sculpture raises a profound question about the nature of power, oppression, and resistance. It highlights the way in which oppressive regimes can use violence and destruction to maintain their grip on power, while also emphasizing the resilience of determination required to resist such regimes and pursue for more justice. So I'm not going to continue with this because it's too extensive. I'm going to make a context about the political issues about this work. But I want to show just one image of the sculpture that is in the other exhibition. That is the one of the rocket. So, and there it is. So there's the geolocalization that I was talking, and there's the sculpture that connects this concept that I just read. Yeah? So the context for me is very important. I'm just going to read a part to give the word to the other artists, but I can give you one of these. I don't know if I have too much for all, but also in my website is the PDF, so if you want to get profound on the reading of this political matter, you can go to the website and make a consult. So the context is about then this weapon. No? The Sura Norte rocket is 80 millimeters, was designed and manufactured by a Swiss company called Oerlikon, now Oerlikon contra Aves. That's another concept that connects the work, because it's just one and another concept start connecting these issues about the birds. It's very curious because the factory of the weapon is called Against Birds. That's the translation about it. It's contra aves, during the 1960s. Its tactical debut was a mutation for the Hawker Hunter aircraft during the Operación Silencio. This is the operation that bombed La Moneda with a Lee commandant. It's called General Lee. That's the name of the guy. Its tactical debut was ammunition for the Hawker Hunter aircraft duration Operación Silencio, which initiated the aerial attack of the city of Santiago on September 11 of 73. This operation was carried out by Chilean Air Force Group 7 under the command of Mario López Tovar. The mission involved the attack on a radio and communication facility and the presidential palace where Salvador Allende and the residents of Salvador Allende in that year, and the unidentified attack of San Gregorio population. This is a part of the city that wasn't nothing to do with the points that the Hawker Hunter was supposed to bomb, so they bombed also the population, and it's something that the government have never accepted. So the mission involved the attack on the radio communication facility, the presidential palace, and the Salvador Allende residence, an unidentified attack of San Gregorio population. With the siege of the capital, the Chilean Air Force made its debut of the combat operation, although the conditions were highly asymmetric. Santiago was under the shock of intrusion, the air torn apart, the piercing sound of warplanes entering through the windows, through the air drums, constructing vital organs, or unconstructing vital organs. The silence began around 8 in the morning. The first mission was to bomb the antennas of the radio station sympathetic to the government of the Popular Unity or Unidad Popular, known as La Voz de la Patria, the voice of the homeland. At the same time, in Valparaíso, different antennas from those targeted by the Hawker Hunters were transmitting the words of the COP leader, José Toribio Merino. This is the general that was part of the operation, forehounding the catastrophe. This is not a coup. This is only seek the restoration of the rule of law. Minutes later, 4 Hawker Hunter aircraft that had flown from Concepción to Cerrillos, this is from another part of Chile through the capital, a part called Cerrillos that was an airport in that moment. Now it's a museum. During the night began their flight for west towers to the southern sector to the capital to bring down the corporation radio antenna. This began the signal extended until 2 in the afternoon, continue into the evening. The next day, and for 17 years, Operación Silencio is not a minor part of the coup. Allende will soon realize this. Nearly an hour after calling the military and the workers to crush the fascist coup, 8:15 a.m., Allende described with a hint of disappointment the start of the aerial operation. At this moment, the planes are passing. It's possible they may strafe us, but let me know that we are here, at least through our example. In this country, there are men who know how fulfilly their duty, 9:03 a.m. Allende calmed the voice to confronting the defining roar of the coup terror. It was not an improvised operation. It had been planned for months, secretly. Group 7 had made the move to transfer weapons and weaponry from Chacabuco base, located in the city of Punta Arenas, to Carriel Sur base on Talcahuano. This is 2 places more. In parallel, they had established an independent telecommunication system while conducting the intelligence operation to the identifying strategic points on the map out the attack plan for these points. The Hawker Hunter aircraft were armed with 32 Sura Nortes. That's the sculpture. The sculpture is actually 1-on-1. The size of is just the same. It's the same size. 8 centimeters in the diameter and with explosive charge about 350 grams of powder. The fighter descended at more than 15,000 feet per minute and crossed 2 cloud layers. The first at 15,000 feet, the second at 8,000 feet, to emerge at around 6,000 feet in altitude. The 4 planes flying almost wying to the wing, separate to the target, their individual objectives under the command of Libra. That was the code of Mario López Tobar. This modern weapon can verify describe as effective, low launch reaction, precise, easy installation, simple to manipulate, reliable, safe, and versatile. That was the words actually that make the military use for this weapon. Then the intervention of the original manual text, that is this, used to promote to Sura Norte rocket sound first around the world, allowed us to expose the historical political density and specificity that this weapon carries, addressing its radical materiality and confronting the ascetics and fascist fascination with objectives of destruction and death. So I don't want to read everything because it's too much. But I think I make the context about the work and how it connects with the first time of this part that was Festival of the Birds, and I'm so glad to can make this context and also thought about the other exhibitions that was made, one in Berlin and the other ones for coming in Santiago. So this is not about only the 50 years of code. This is about the impunity that has continued since the coup. So the 50 years is just one part of that everything is talking about the problem, but actually the problem is going to continue until 51, 52, 53. So I think that connects also with the other works that establish the political problem with art. So I'm very thankful to Gudrun and to all of you to hear me, and I hope you found interesting this part of my work. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, first of all, I want to thank Gudrun again for making this exhibition happen, and very well curated with being with really amazing artists. I would like to actually show my process, where I got here, but in general, starting first with the Conference of Bird. So actually, I mean, for us Iranian, always like you hear Attar, Hafez, Sadi, always at your home, and it's really important to hear, especially like my father is also really into reading. He knows all of the Hafiz and Sadi by heart. So he was always encouraging that, read Iranian literature, even though I didn't live much of my life in Iran, mostly abroad, but he was always encouraging this. And so with this project, Conference of Bird, it was really interesting that I read actually in English and the Farsi version as well, but it's actually difficult Farsi, which you have to try. And so first part of this exhibition, so my work is there. It's textile, embroidery, inspired from the Pate. It's embroidery from the region Kerman, and it's actually how I started to relate the story. This, I think, mainly my work inspires from textile and like carpets, and because they are like storytelling, they listen to your story, they narrate things, and so I chose this technique of pate because I always remember my mom. She's always making pate. It's this embroidery, and it's very special to the region. And every woman, girl, like my aunts, everyone, they're just doing, and it's also competitive. Oh, who does it nicer, and who is better, and then gifting it as a dowry. So in that context, I found this good medium to express my idea, and I actually took the whole idea of this bird gathering in this work. I didn't focus on one bird, but actually on all of them, which are hearing this conversation. This Hot Hupi, which is the leader, and want to gather everyone, unite, So, and by chance, actually, I was saying it became actually 30 birds, but I didn't plan to stitch 30 birds, so that was interesting for me. One of them are couples, which are actually also one, because when duality finishes, unity begins. It's also written in the book. So I'm brief, I don't know how everyone knows about the book, but with these birds, it was really interesting to read about, because each of the birds who are arguing not to join the journey, they are having problems which are you can really relate to also the protest, also how we cannot unite. So starting from the bulbul, nightingale. So it's the symbol of people who are really attached to mortal things. Bulbul cannot just skip the love of the flower and just wants to stay because of that. And so, but Hot Hot tells to the bulbul that although the rose is fair, her beauty is soon gone. One who seeks self-perfection should not become a slave of love so passing. So this is a symbol of a person who are attached to mortal things. And then comes the parrot, Tuti. He is also in love with appearances and brings excuses that doesn't want to join, and he just wants the reaching God just for the love of heaven, not for being with the one. And also peacock, Tavus, it's a symbol of being narcissist. He's just happy with in search of praise and happy to be just to reach the gate of the Simor and see what is going on, and not one of the. Actually, I was giving two works, so one is painting. Yeah. So that's the bulbul. Actually, one bird I focused was the bulbul, as I was saying, so blinded by the flower, which is also made with the texture of the carpet, which is actually my practice is inspired from, and just blinded by it and not seeing above. And then, yeah, you can give it aside, or
no, we can put it here.
Yeah.
So.
Then also the dog is the pretender, and thinks that he's poor, he has the water, and because of the association with water, doesn't want to go ahead. Also, Patriarch Cap is like famous for the lover of the Welt, also like he's so in love with the stones in the deserts and doesn't want to go further. But the Hopi says to Cap that water jewels, but colored stone, yet the colors of them hardens your heart. Seek the true jewel and be always in quest of the good jeweler. And then, like with the owl wolf, it's like he's in love just with the runes and like the things around it. And there's a loner, doesn't want to join. And then comes the sparrow, and which is Gonjesh, which is really the symbol of weak people who are like just not confident to like take the hardship and get along. So, and then comes the falcon, of course, like it's the slave of the king. He has the love of the king, the approval of the king, and doesn't want to like go further. So with this brief explanation, so that's, then I was just thinking, I really cannot separate any bird to choose, like I did this painting, but I thought, no, it's a whole that, you know, it's a gathering of a people, with different needs and different characteristics that should be together and discussed. So in regards to like being united or the protest, I think this is also a problem of many of people or us that, you know, everyone has these small things that doesn't want to unite and or unite but not so. But when everyone is united, things can flourish, go way beyond, and yeah. So that was about the work that I displayed, the idea, and then if you would have any questions, I can answer, or I can also show you my process if you would like to see. Actually, it comes from the carpets and till I reached here. That's the end. You can go. Yeah, next. So actually my work, my practice is in general inspired from Persian carpets, and like carpets to us Iranians is like a really essential element that it has to be there. It's there since you're born. You start crawling on it, walking and dining, and a family, a meeting is happening around it, and it's like inherited, gifted through dowry. So it's a very like important object, as important as any like thing like fridge essentials that should be there. It's a must. So and for me, with taking this idea, I started like researching and also going to the bazaar in Tehran and searching for like elements, how to take this further. And I was actually, interestingly, in Bazaar of Tehran, I was finding these pieces of carpet torn away and just cut off nearly in the garbage, and I was just asking, oh, why is it like this? And then I realized they're making this over-dyed carpets, and they just like cut the corners and throw out, so it's like over-dyed, modern technique, which is lovable. Especially they told me, oh, it has a market in Europe. But for me, it was really like sad actually to see. It was like, okay, our tradition, everything is like just tearing away. And then, I started like painting these pieces of carpets, paying attention to them, and like freezing the moment in a way. And we can go further. Then also like the carpets that were around me in home, so I started to pay more attention in the details. Like this carpet was actually dowry of my mom, and I never looked at it at such detail, because when you're kids you're just playing and you don't really like pay attention. Then I started to see it, observe it, and see how playful, how like nice and also sometimes the animals are also smiley, or the weaver is playing. And then, again, so I was working these elements of carpet weaving, like the loom. For me, it's like where a story starts to begin, a life begins, and then you, not by not, second by second, minutes happen, and then it's there. So through that, I was like seeing carpets like this, the remnant of a tail. It's actually carpet in museum of carpet in Tehran. I was seeing it, and then of course it's in the museum. It's also yours to be like see it, and then bringing those lines over it, like changing also the process. First the image, and then comes the weave, like structure, and we can go further. Yeah. And also from my imagination, just like nature, or just became actually, my work actually became more abstract when I moved to Europe, because the imagery of carpet was not there anymore, or was there, but home was not there. So it became more like abstract as the work before. This is quite fast. Yeah, and just like by imagining, and like process of like, it's not just done in like one time. I come back to the paintings after like 6 months, 1 year, sometimes happens. And then, we can go to the ceramics. So I was actually started doing ceramic, and this is actually the Iranian carpet. And the reason also to be black, I don't know, for me it had some sorrow of like thinking, like Iran, with the situation, and also being away, I think you tend to overthink. Like, I mean, before was like that, but when you go back, everything is kind of the same. So then we can go further. Again, also through this, I was using ceramic as a new surface for my practice, and then this work is as well like nature came because of absence of carpet, but carpet is actually initially also inspired from nature, but I was doing a different floating, like just feeling of uncertainty for me. And then we can go ahead. So this also actually, this is painting, like it's one by one lines, white lines on the canvas, inspired by the loom, as I was saying, like where you start to narrate. And for me, this process is very therapeutic. Like while doing it, I listen to stories, listen to like poems and these things, and it gets those, it saves those things within it. Like carpet is also listening to our stories, and it's just there, it ages with us, it like vanishes with us, so it's very like related. And then we can go ahead. So this is actually one of my recent work I did in Virginia. Actually, being really far from Iran, I was thinking of my last trip to Iran. Hope not the last, actually. But to Kermanshah, actually, I didn't really travel to in Iran, but I was like just made my mind. I go to Kermanshah, which is the Kurdish side of Iran, and it was really interesting. I was actually going with the bus from Tehran. You actually realize how it gets limited, and it's actually a poorer region because of certain reasons, which they don't want this part to get anything, which is really sad. And then like going to Bistone and seeing the mountains, I was actually, I practiced also miniature. My sister also, she's a miniature artist, so I always see these mountains of like in miniature, how interesting. And when I reached in Kermanshah, I was like, wow, okay, these are the mountains. They're not like symbolized. It's actually what you see in miniature is there. So then I was like, then far away, I was thinking of that landscape for me, and like the colors and the feeling. So I painted this, which like looks map-like, but for me is like a reminder of that time. So, and yeah, we can go ahead. So actually, this is one of my last work. I can relate it in a way to this exhibition where I started actually. Gudrun was asking me today, you have started textile when? So it's actually from here. I'm also exploring other mediums. This was actually a project from Museum Kurhaus Kleve in Germany, and it was a group show, and we got to visit the museum, and you know, getting inspired by element in the museum, making artworks. So for me, we actually went and see the archive where you can't see. So it was really interesting. I saw a lot of emblesh figurines of bronze, from ancient Iran. A lot of them there from a private collection. It's just laying there, and a lot. And then, so I decided to take that as my inspiration, and then like reading about it and everything, you see like in 20th century, they were like discovered and massively just sent to Europe and like looted by many. And then when actually the researcher came to like investigate what is the origin, so many questions are unresolved. Because it was just like gone from its origin, and then like displaced, and then you see here, and so through that idea, so I actually was getting elements of those figurines in like weaving, and I got this carpet made, hand woven. But it's just a little part because the story is hidden. It's unknown. It's like it couldn't be told because it's like unfinished, hidden. So that's why it's just hanging. And yeah, the reason is that it's up and down is because like the weaving is like that. So I couldn't like do it the other way. But yeah, so actually from this start, then I was thinking of the birds, also referring to this work, also the textile, how it can like respond better, and I really like the combination of our work because it's in a way mine is very homely and like element, and then something like really in contrast, but it actually has a harmony in a way, or relates in other terms. Yeah, if you think about it. Yeah, and I think that's it. Or yeah. That's just the detailed, and yeah, this is the work we talked about it, and yeah, and that's from the book, from Conference of Bird, yeah. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if you have any questions, we're happy to answer.
Do you want to ask something?
Thank you
for coming.